Welcome to Manny's TV Talk, where we will talk about all of our favorite reality TV shows and news surrounding them. Grab a snack, a drink, and get comfortable because this starts now. Hello, everybody, and welcome back. Today, we're going to be talking about the documentary of Lifetime. Where is Wendy Williams? Let's get right into this.
My mom.
My life. My life.
Right now, she's weak and vulnerable, and she needs to be around people who aren't going to take advantage of that.
I have no friends. You know how many people come out to support you? You know how many people love you? No,
Okay, you guys, this was a very sad and very hard to watch documentary because I speak for many when I say that we love Wendy Williams, the queen of daytime. Nobody did Hot Topics the way that she did, and honestly, in a way, Wendy Williams she led the way. She paved the way for a lot of people, even on here who do YouTube channels where they talk about the news and entertainment and reality TV. Nobody did it the way that she did it, and she definitely inspired a lot of us, and she contributed so much to the culture. She will never ever be forgotten. But let's talk about this documentary because in May of 2022, the renowned talk show host Wendy Williams was placed under a financial guardianship by the Supreme Court of New York. The case was sealed, so this documentary starts with us seeing Wendy after years of not seeing her. We see her, so remember, this documentary was filmed because this was supposed to be them documenting her big comeback. She was going to start this podcast, and she was going to come back and return to us with Hot Topics. But Wendy, right away, as she did this first interview, she doesn't look good. She sits in the iconic purple chair and starts saying that this podcast that they're going to do will be fun because she can show off her boobs, and yeah, you could tell that something is off. She also then cried about how amazing one of her friends, Selby, her manager, is. We see her taking pictures for this podcast. She also says that she has no idea why her money is frozen, why she can't access her money. She also says that if it happens to me, it can happen to you. She talks about her lymphedema, and they show how like it's been eating her feet up. I'm surprised that she can still walk, honestly, because of the condition of how her feet look. And on top of that, she says that she loves alcohol. It's not good. But Wendy does say that her sister Wanda is very against her drinking. So after this first interview was shot, Wendy was then admitted to a wellness center in California for 2 months. So they stopped this production. Then 2 months later, she comes back to New York and the cameras begin rolling again, and they tell the producers that they can continue filming this documentary. And Wendy did look a little better initially, but then they start asking her questions, and she says that nothing is off limits. They show her a video of the original shoot that we just talked about in the first interview of the documentary, where Wendy was saying that Wanda doesn't like her drinking, and then Wendy starts to cry, and she also says that she doesn't like the wigs and some of the wardrobe that she was using. So the Guardian, who is in charge of Wendy, assigned a healthcare advocate for Wendy, but neither the healthcare advocate or the Guardian commented on this documentary. But when the producers kept asking her about her 2 months in the mental facility in California, Wendy says, "Please stop talking about this." We see Wendy go to some trainer. She does scream at him, and she says that she's not going to do certain stuff. He does do some like exercises on her legs, and she says that it felt good. He says that he's gonna need some months with Wendy for him to be able to help her. But then they went out, and when they're out, she pushes someone, and she says, "I'm taking pictures by myself," and then she poses in the middle of the street. Then we see Wendy's good friend DJ Boof. So he addresses the time that Wendy fainted on live television when she was wearing that Statue of Liberty costume. He says that was when he started to see a shift. That was an important point. She actually started talking about her illnesses more. Selby also goes into detail about the time he met Wendy. So he was her jeweler. He says a friendship started, but he actually started working with her after she left Kevin. I'm telling y'all, I don't really trust this guy. There was a scene where they are trying to dress Wendy, and Wendy is throwing a fit because she wanted to wear Chanel. She refused to wear anything else, and then she screams at one of her managers to go away. And the lady's like, "Well, that's not necessary. Don't be rude." There was also a nail tech that went there to, make Wendy's nails, and Wendy is at first kind of making small talk, asking if she has children and stuff like that. And I don't know what happened, but then Wendy screams, "Are you stupid?" It was so sad to see this because obviously she's not doing this on purpose, right? It's not like she's actually being mean, that she's consciously thinking of it. She was also vaping quite a bit, and I was just thinking they need to take that away from her. She is able to talk about her past, so she talks about her cocaine use, and she does talk about her son Kevin. She gets emotional when she talks about her son. She got in tears in her eyes, and Kevin Jr. is in Miami. Everybody in her family is in Miami, and that's when we are introduced to her nephew and one of her childhood friends as well. So they were reminding us of Kevin Hunter's affair with Serena and how this came from a simple affair, but it became into something much more. They were being spotted going to dinner, going to the gym, and then of course they had a baby. And they are saying that Wendy leaving Kevin was the turning point in her going back to the alcohol. And that's when she told us that remember that's when she told us in the show that she was living in a sober house. So the nephew says that he acknowledges the harm that his uncle Kevin caused Wendy, but he says that when Wendy was with him, at least she was able to stay off the substances. DJ Boof says the same thing. Kevin was her protector in a sense, and he also talks about the amount of loneliness that Wendy felt after she got divorced. Because think about it, she's in this huge home, but she's all alone. And then the pandemic hit. Remember that? Remember that pandemic? Of course, right? Then that's when they had to start doing the show from home. And when they were doing it from home, you could see that Wendy was not doing well on the show. That's when she started to look uninterested. She was confused. She didn't know what to say in the hot topics. DJ Booth says that he was like, wait a minute, she's not acting like this because of the pandemic. There's something else going on. He says that he saw the lowest of lows, and the lowest that he saw was when she had to go to the hospital. He can't go into much detail about it, but he says that she was going to die. She needed 3 blood transfusions. Had she not gotten that, she would have been out. And the reason the ambulance was able to get there was because Kevin Jr. ended up calling the ambulance to go pick her up because I guess she had passed out, and then DJ Booth went to go meet her at the hospital. Then it is fall of 2020. The Wendy Williams show returned to studio, but without DJ Booth. So then they talk about some of the shows that she started to do when she got back to the studio. For example, an interview that she did with Barbara from Shark Tank, and how Wendy started just saying crazy things like out of nowhere during the interview, like talking about cats and stuff like that. We see Wendy sneeze. She says that her grandmother, Wendy's mother, could see that Wendy was not doing very well in these shows, and but then Wendy's mother passed away, so that even added even more to Wendy's mental health. On July 16, 2021, Wendy gave her final performance. That was the last time that we saw her on the Wendy Williams show. Now, this was normal because the show always takes a hiatus and they come back somewhere around the fall, but Wendy couldn't come back, and that's when they started to have all these guest co-host celebrities come. Remember when they had all those people come over to host for a while? Meanwhile, Wendy went to Miami. She was with her son. Remember that video that Kevin took of her at the beach? But Wendy was actually doing very well in Miami. They also explained why the show ended, and I mean, I get it. As much as I hate that it ended, I understand there was no way for the show that was called the Wendy Williams show to continue without Wendy Williams. So of course it was canceled and then passed on to Sherry. Wendy's niece says that she's the one that actually shared with Wendy that the show was ending and that Sherry Shepherd would be taking her time slot. Then we see Wendy's son Kevin. The last time he says that he saw her was 8 months prior to this interview, well, when he was being filmed. The question is, why did Wendy go back to New York? Why not stay in Miami with her family when she was doing so well? Well, she had to go back to New York because of the court case, and that's when the court assigned the guardian and she was separated from the family. This is so sad. This should not be allowed. But when the producers of the documentary asked Wendy about her son, how is she supporting him, she got angry and tells one of the producers to go away, but she also starts to cry because she misses her son. She says, I have so much money, but I don't want none of it. I want my son to have it. It was then a new day, and they take Wendy to a park. She arranged a photo shoot for the podcast. She wanted to take some pictures in Jersey. First, they go to an arcade. She finds a picture of herself there from years ago. She goes to her hometown. She goes to the street that they named after her. She talks to many fans on the street. They were very nice to her. Then she goes to her childhood house where she grew up. A nice Mexican family lives there now. Thankfully, they allowed her to go inside so she could see it. It was nice to see Wendy's dad. He made a little appearance here, and her brother as well. They talked about her childhood, and Wendy always knew what she wanted to do. She interviewed people when she was like 5 years old, so she definitely had her eye out for the career that she had. Then we get into the bank accounts. So Wells Fargo froze her account because they claimed that they thought somebody was using the money and they were exploiting her. They started to see huge amounts of money being withdrawn. Now we can debate whether the Wells Fargo thing was good or not. Part of me thinks that it was wrong. And Wells Fargo has always been a racist institution. That's a whole different conversation they have. But part of me feels like it was wrong for them to do that. They actually talked to Kevin about this. They were thinking that he was spending too much money. And I do think he was spending too much of Wendy's money. Of course he was. But to the point that that Wells Fargo needed to take it upon themselves to kick Kevin out and get a guardian, I can't get past that. But the other side of me thinks that this might have been a blessing in disguise because had these accounts not been frozen, this man, that's not with her, this Will guy, maybe could have used and gotten a hold of some of this money. And I say this because this guy looked shady. He looked very performative for the documentary. There was a part where he gets a bottle of vodka and he says, "Now, why is this here?" And she says, "Leave it there." But the thing is, why is the bottle even there to begin with? Why she couldn't go to the store and buy it by herself. Denise also talks about her seeing so many articles and pictures that get posted on about Wendy and her being out in public, and they're not good. She says that she worries that one day she will Google something and that it won't be good. They even talked about how some fans have been saying that this is karma for Wendy and stuff like that. There's a scene where Wendy and Will talk to Wendy's publicist and they're talking about this podcast and of them doing a pilot. Will says that people should not have any doubts about Wendy because she has been doing this for 20 years. He says nobody should be worried. It is very clear that this man, Will, is who has been responsible for calling the press and taking her out in public, and all these pictures that we've seen in the last 2 years. It's definitely been because of him taking her to these places. There's a scene where Wendy goes to dinner with her publicist and Will, and she talks about not having too many friends. They ask if she misses her family. She weirdly says no, except for Kevin, of course. But even in this dinner, they allowed her to order wine, alcohol, I think even a margarita, and I'm like, why? The next day, we see Wendy looking at a gossip magazine, and just for like 2 seconds, it was really fun seeing Wendy sort of go through it and, kind of say little comments as if she were in her hot topic, but then they ask her why she drinks, and she says, "Because I can." Now, there was a part where Will says that he finds alcohol and then that he throws it out so that Wendy won't get it, and Wendy, she was saying, "F him, he's trying to control me," but I go back to the same thing. How is this alcohol getting into the home to begin with? Unfortunately, we see Wendy cuss and fat shame her publicist, and of course, it shows that she doesn't know better and that she needs help. And honestly, it reminds seeing somebody like scream at someone and like fat shame them and cuss them out. It reminds me of signs of or older people who have dementia. In one of the scenes, they go to a smoke shop to buy Wendy a vape. Why the hell would they do that? She also got mad at them for getting the wrong vape, and she kept wanting to drive past the Wendy Williams show. She kept saying, "Let's drive by the Wendy Williams show, the Sherry Shepherd show." This became a whole thing. Wendy was fighting everyone because she wanted a specific vape that was the color blue. So she got erratic. The publicist must have gone to that store about 10 times, coming in and returning the vapes. Again, no need for her to even be there in the first place. But again, it shows how they shouldn't even have given her that vape. That shouldn't be an option because she kept saying that she wanted to go to a specific store, but that was the store they were in. They interviewed the publicist actually asking her about this little episode that just happened and asking about Wendy's mental health, but she tried to play it out as if this was normal. Another day, the cameras went into Wendy's house, and one of her managers, Keisha, walks into Wendy's room, and Wendy is sleeping. Keisha calls Will. She tells him that there's piles of dirty clothes. She says that the room smells bad. Will then comes, and he gets there to tell Wendy to quit, to quote, get the hell up. She was saying, yes, I'll get up, and she says that he's not her friend. Her only friends are the cameras that are there. It made me very uncomfortable to watch that last scene. That was it for part one. Part two is tomorrow, and we'll see more of the family members speak out. And I think we'll see Wendy reunite with Kevin. Again, it was really hard to watch this documentary because we all have a certain memory of Wendy. And I feel like by them showing this, it really tarnishes that. And I do understand that some of the members of her family really wanted this documentary to be put out there to raise awareness of them wanting to be with her, because listen, I'm not too sure about the legality of this, but I don't understand how the court is able to assign a total random stranger to take care of Wendy's entire life when she has able and willing family members who want to do it. I can't get past that. But yeah, you guys, this was very sad. I personally think, because now we know as of this Friday that Wendy was officially diagnosed with dementia and some other illness similar to Bruce Willis. And I think that honestly, this is what should happen. Barbara Walters also had dementia, and after she retired, after she left The View, we never saw her again. We never heard of her or saw her anywhere in public after she gave her last goodbye. And then last thing we knew, she was around 90 something, she passed away. I think that unfortunately, because of Wendy's condition, we can't be seeing her like this anymore. I don't like that they're tarnishing her legacy in this way. But again, I understand them wanting to raise awareness, the family side. But again, the people around her, I don't trust them. They look very suspicious. But what are you guys' thoughts? Did you guys watch the documentary? And if you did, what were your thoughts of seeing Wendy Williams in this state? Please let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll catch you all next time. You have a great one. Bye.